All right. Hello. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, 10 a.m. on the Eastern time zone. And today I'm going to talk with you about stage 3 kidney disease, which is a huge topic. Obviously, we're not going to get to everything in the live and the video that we have today, but my hope in today's talk is to give you some good ideas of really where to start at when you're in this stage of kidney disease and what to focus on and things that you may or may not need to worry about, things that you can kind of let go of or put a little bit more in the back burner, and really give you some great ideas of where to go. So, let me take care of everything here and we're good to go. All right. So, the first thing that I want to do really quickly before I start diving into everything is a brief introduction in case you have never heard of me, you've never seen me. Hey, Cheryl, so good to see you. Oh, I'm so happy that you were able to jump on. Okay, you distracted me. But anyway, my name is Jen Hernandez. I am a renal dietitian. I am a registered dietitian in the United States, and I'm also board certified in renal nutrition. And that is my jam. That is what I do. I focus on helping people with chronic kidney disease and keeping their kidney function, keeping them feeling good, keeping them feeling healthy, giving more energy, and best of all, helping people learn of all of the foods that they can eat. Good morning. So if you don't know about my background, I've worked with dialysis. That's really where I got started. So it was kind of on the opposite end, but it's really common for a lot of dietitians that one of the job opportunities that we have is in dialysis. So I saw it as a really big challenge. The dialysis diet is very intimidating, very difficult, not only to follow, but to teach. It's very, very difficult. So good morning, everybody. Anyway, you guys are all distracting me, but it's not a bad thing. It's good. I'm really, really happy to see you all jumping on here and to be seeing so many familiar faces and names. That is really wonderful. So I worked in dialysis and I was able to help people, but the hardest thing, it just absolutely broke my heart when somebody would be coming into dialysis for their first treatment and they would tell me, I had no idea. I had no idea this was happening. It just totally surprised me. I didn't realize I would be here. And if I knew, if I could have done something before, and that's what really motivated me to look at more of the preventive side. And in doing that, I had to go out on my own as a dietitian, which dietitians in private practice is a very, very new thing. As a dietitian, we're taught to work in hospitals, dialysis. We're taught to kind of follow the traditional healthcare roles that are already established. But dietitians in private practice are becoming a bigger thing. And that is what I am doing. I am running my private practice, Plant Powered Kidneys, to help more people see the opportunities that they have when it comes to all the things that they can do with keeping kidneys healthy. So, hello. Yeah, so Raymond PD is a really, really good dialysis option. When I worked in dialysis, it was probably one of my favorite ones, not only from the clinician point of view, but if I myself had to go on dialysis for any reason, I would probably choose PD myself as well. It's one of the most liberalized diets, and there's a lot of good flexibility when it comes to being able to dialyze at home, which is really, really nice. Okay, anyway, so we're going to be talking though today about stage 3 CKD. So stage 3 is actually kind of like two smaller, or a split of two different stages. It's right down the middle. So there's stage 1, 2, 3A, 3B, stage 4, and stage 5, which is essentially dialysis. Stage 3 is this mid-range where your kidney function is anywhere from 59% down to 30%. And the 3A is at that 45% split. So the 3A and 3B is usually where people start to learn about their diagnosis. Stage 1 and stage 2 is pretty rare to have or is more rare to have a diagnosis and actually learn about CKD that early on. Most people find out, like I say, upwards of dialysis time. 90% of people who do have kidney failure or who do learn about their kidney failure diagnosis don't have any symptoms. It is known as a silent killer because there are not obvious symptoms that people realize are connected to their kidney function. And in stage 3, that is very, very much the case. That really the way that you're going to learn about your diagnosis of CKD3 is going to be from probably your primary. You're most likely not seeing a nephrologist. People don't typically go to a nephrologist until stage 4 or stage 5 in dialysis. So you're probably hearing about it from your primary, maybe your cardiologist or your endocrinologist, which is somebody who specializes in like diabetes, blood sugars. You might hear about it from them, but most likely it's going to come from your primary. Another thing to keep in mind when you're looking at your renal labs, when you're looking at your kidney function labs, your creatinine, things like that, you cannot just take one lab result and have that as the diagnosis. The lab needs to be tested again. Your numbers need to be tested again because it could be something as simple as a hydration level change, which is why your numbers look funky. So please, if you see a funky lab, do not head for the hills. Do not, I know I would very much start jumping to conclusions and thinking about all the what ifs and what nows and going online. You've got to really, really be careful with that. So if you're in this situation, please understand you need to get it tested and retested and get that official diagnosis from the doctor. It's not even going to be something that you could look up and say, your GFR is this, therefore you have this. It needs to come from your doctor. And again, you're probably not going to feel very many symptoms. You're not going to even realize it's happening. And that's not your fault. That is not anything on you. You could have seen this coming. There's really, really no way for you to take that kind of responsibility for the situation of something that is a silent killer. So with stage 3, now we're looking at even the risk factors when it comes to kidney disease. There's 2 different kinds of risk factors, 2 categories. So there's modifiable and there's non-modifiable. And the reason I bring this up is because we want to really think about, again, focusing on the opportunities for change, what you can focus on. Non-modifiable are the risk factors that you can't change. There's nothing you can do about it. So some of these examples are your age, your sex, your ethnicity, your family history of kidney issues or health issues in general. These kinds of things you have no control over. As much as we would love to have control over our age, that's not going to happen. So these are non-modifiable. These are risk factors for CKD, but they're out of our control. What is modifiable? What is in our control are risk factors like smoking, weight management, diet, exercise, sleep, these kind of things, even medication adherence. These kind of things we have control over. We can make choices in what we do with our health, with our diet, with our exercise, with our body. We have the power to take care of that side of things. So we want to focus on those modifiable risk factors. Now, when it comes to the symptoms, as I mentioned, you may have no symptoms whatsoever, but as kidney disease progresses, as things change, you might experience things like insomnia. You might even experience a total fatigue where you have no energy. That's one of the most common ones that I've seen with clients. You might have itchy skin, which we've talked about before. I have a whole article on plantpoweredkidneys.com talking about itchy skin. You can have changes in your urination, how frequently, when you go, if you see foam or any blood or any changes to your urine. You might see swelling, which is that fluid buildup. You might even experience loss of appetite, which I tell a lot of my clients, and this has been from a long time ago. Your appetite is a really good indicator of how things are going internally. When we're hungry, it means our body is really running well and it's looking for energy. It's looking for fuel. When we're not hungry, that may, not necessarily, but it may be something as a sign to there's something going on. Your body can't really deal with digesting and metabolizing things. It's kind of taking care of things. So if you've ever been hospitalized, if you've ever been really sick, you think about that initial part of your illness where you're just like down for the count. You have no appetite. You have really no interest in eating because you're not feeling good. But as you get better, you eat more, your appetite's returning, you're feeling better. It all kind of ties together. So a loss of appetite or your appetite in general is a great way to kind of gauge how things are going. Again, it's not always going to be the clearest because there's other things that can relate to changes in appetite, but that is one factor that you might look at. Now, when we look at kidney disease and the reason that it's so problematic is that there are so many complications that can come from this diagnosis of kidney disease. The kidney is responsible for so many things in the body that we don't even realize. We probably don't realize until that kidney function declines and we have realized we've taken it for granted. But some of the issues that can come about from CKD is anemia. You can have high blood pressure, which is almost in some cases like a chicken or the egg thing. Which came first? Was it high blood pressure that caused kidney disease, or the kidney disease caused high blood pressure? Because the kidneys do have a role in managing our blood pressure. So high blood pressure is the second highest cause of kidney disease, but kidney disease causes high blood pressure, very closely related. Cardiovascular disease is another complication. Diabetes, again, blood sugar issues can cause CKD, but CKD can also lead to blood sugar control issues. Where there is also mineral and bone disorders. I'm trying to combine my words this morning. Mineral and bone disorders, very, very common with CKD, and another thing to be focusing on, which if you are in the current plant-powered kidneys course right now, that's really what we're talking about this final week. We're in week 6 of the course, talking all about phosphorus. So if you're in the course, that is what we're learning about this week, more in depth there. Now, there's also going to be some nutritional changes when it comes to CKD, which I know is why a lot of you are watching this live and connecting here. And we're going to be talking a bit more about that today. But I wanted to kind of give this really quick overview of CKD, understanding some of those numbers, and also saying, again, you've got to slow down and really have that verification that there is a kidney problem first. Okay, so now we're looking at nutritional issues. So with kidney disease can come digestion problems, and this can affect how nutrients are utilized in the body. It can also affect how much of nutritional needs are required of our body. So, for example, calories. Calories are the fuel that our body uses. It is the gas for our tank of us as the car. It is very, very important that we get calories. Kidney disease is something that is really important when it comes to taking care of our health during kidney disease. So with that being said, the challenge I see almost every time with clients is the issue of not getting enough to eat. And this comes from the old thoughts when it comes to the renal diet of restricting so many things, pulling back on so many things, and everybody basically is left with the question of what is there to eat? Now, to answer that question, we have to look back at all of these ideas of these different restrictions and start to, again, prioritize what is important and what you do really need to restrict, what you do need to limit, and then the other things that you don't need to worry so much about. So the focus of the nutrition for CKD is still going to be based on the individual. And while I will be covering some of those bigger pictures here today, I do want to emphasize the importance of working privately with a registered dietitian. You will get some ideas, some general guidelines with this kind of information, but you're going to get the best answers and best solutions when it comes to working one-on-one with the dietitian. And this is very old news. You guys hear me talk about this all the time. Working privately with the dietitian is the gold standard. So hopefully that is something that you all are either in the process of looking at doing, speaking with your doctor about. And again, please don't let your doctor just tell you, no, you don't need to see a dietitian. That is not the case. everybody with CKD should be seeing a dietitian, and you can tell the doctor, KDIGO, KDIGO, KDIGO guidelines do say anyone with CKD should be seeing a dietitian. So these are the recommendations that are set across the healthcare board to say this is something that's very important. So it's not for your doctor to say you don't need to see a dietitian, because that is not the case. So when we talk about focusing on, again, nutrition with CKD, specifically CKD3, I'm going to look down here. So just to let you guys know, I do have a very, very extensive article that is published at plantpoweredkidneys.com. And I'm touching on some of those points. When I say extensive, you guys, I'm not even kidding. It's a novel. It is a novel of an article, but there's a lot of information in here that runs through a lot of stuff about CKD3. So again, I'm going to touch on some of the points here and make sure that I highlight the emphasis for nutrition that we're looking at. So, all right. Now we're going to start with nutrition related to, we're going to look at nutrition related to high blood pressure, because again, high blood pressure is really closely related to CKD, whether you have it or not. This is something that even for my clients on dialysis, my patients on dialysis who didn't have high blood pressure, it was something that we needed to watch out for because of that relationship with kidneys not being able to take care of all of the things when it comes to your blood pressure. So when we focus on the nutrition for hypertension or the nutrition for high blood pressure, the goal is to keep blood pressure at that 130, 85, over 85 kind of range or below. You may have a different recommendation from your own doctor because of where your blood pressure is at. If your blood pressure is really high, it might be a matter of just getting it down a few points, and that could be a really safe and healthy goal for you. So you do want to talk with your cardiologist or your nephrologist or even your primary doctor about what your blood pressure goals should be to make sure that they are in line with what's best and most appropriate for your health. But the nutrition, when we're looking at controlling blood pressure, is going to be following this quite not historical. I'm trying to think of the best word. It's not a new diet. It's a very, very well-studied, well-researched and proven diet, which is the DASH diet. So if you've heard about the DASH diet, I want you to comment and let me know that you've heard it. Even if you're watching on the replay, you can let me know you're watching on the replay, but comment and let me know if you've heard of the DASH diet or if you've been taught, if you know of the DASH diet, because I'm really curious to hear from you all if this is something that you've been taught or told or educated on, because again, it's a very well-established diet. So we see a few here saying yes, that you've definitely heard of it. Yeah. So the DASH diet is really, really great. This is kind of like that not so secret diet. It is the dietary approaches to stop hypertension. So it is all about focusing on low sodium and good sources of fat and the fundamentals, which you'll know I'm a huge fan of, fruits and vegetables. Focusing on fruits and vegetables and whole grains. All of these things have been incorporated to help with cardiovascular, with hypertension, with blood pressure control, all of these things. That's what it has been focused on. So the DASH diet is something that really connects with a kidney-friendly diet because all of these things are really the common features across the board. So the focus is low sodium. The focus is fruits and vegetables, a variety of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and healthy fats. The fats that you don't want to be including as much are the unhealthy fats, the ones that will attribute to higher cholesterol levels or unhealthy fat levels in the body. And that's where you want to be cautious. So these are, think about like your processed foods that are deep fried, or using processed foods or foods that are high in saturated fat. So we're looking at lard or shortening, bacon fat, butter. These are high in saturated fat and are not heart healthy. So these are some examples of what that would look like. The other part of the DASH diet that again kind of connects with this fundamental of fruits and vegetables is talking about fiber. Fiber is important for so many reasons. We can't even just say, I mean, I'll quickly run across a few benefits of fiber. So we've got better blood pressure control, better blood sugar control, better gut health, better weight management. I mean, those are like the big ones that really come across, but those are really big. I mean, that covers a lot of areas. It covers the top two causes of CKD. It covers the issue of metabolic syndrome, which is related to weight issues with that cover a whole other gambit of things. And then gut health, which, oh my goodness, you guys, gut health is so important. That's a whole other week that we spend in the plant-powered kidneys course talking about gut health and paying attention to how to establish a healthy gut. So fiber is very, very important. And that's one of those nutrients that you're going to find in your fruits, in your vegetables, in your whole grains. So aiming for that 25 to 35 or plus grams per day is going to be really, really helpful in taking care of your cholesterol, taking care of your weight, taking care of blood pressures, taking care of sugars. The thing about fiber, though, is you don't want to all of a sudden take a ton of it, going from very minimal. So where I recommend starting is doing some food journaling, which it's tedious. I'm not going to lie. It's tedious, but it gives so many answers to what's going on. And if you want really good clarification, but you know that it's not going to be something you can do for very long, what I would recommend is doing your food journaling those 3 days leading up to your next blood test results. The next time you have a lab draw, do your food journaling then, because when you get your blood test results, you're going to have that food journal that's going to be reflecting on what you've been putting into your body, what's been digesting, metabolizing, or what's been not digesting and metabolizing in the body. So keeping track of your food record before your blood test is very, very insightful and very helpful, especially for those of you who, if you ever have gone through, if you've met with your doctor or you've met with a practitioner and you're looking at the labs and they're like, what have you been eating? I mean, oh my gosh, what a giant question that is to answer. So if you're not tracking your food, it's very hard to think of every little detail that may make a really big difference in understanding more about your lab results. So this is kind of tangential from what I was talking about with the fiber, but getting back to that, tracking your food to see where your fiber intake is at this moment, and then kind of starting to increase from there. You want to increase your fiber intake slowly to make sure that you don't overwhelm your body or cause other gut issues like constipation, where you just overload and it's too much for your body to handle. So you want to do that nice and slow and steady so that you can get acclimated to it. And your body will get acclimated to it. Let me tell you, it can take a little bit of time, but you can get your body running like a well-oiled machine as you get up with that fiber in your diet. So increasing your fiber intake is so helpful, but you definitely want to talk with your doctor about it, because there are some situations where fiber might not be indicated. It might not be helpful for certain health issues. So please, anytime you're making a plan to change your nutrition, make sure you speak with your doctor, your healthcare team about that, so that you have a plan in mind. And that's another great excuse to have another lab draw scheduled. That was something that I talked with Dr. Blake on Instagram last week about. You know, when you come to your nephrologist with that plan of, I want to make these changes, that's really bringing your healthcare team on, and your doctor is going to be supportive. I hope your doctor should be supportive of that in saying, okay, well, if you're going to be making these changes, let's get another lab draw scheduled for, 4 to 8 weeks from now to see what is going on, what that's looking like with those changes. So The lab results can be really, really helpful to learn about that and to see where your progress is. But you have to hold up your end of that by making those changes and tracking what's going on, tracking those adjustments that you're making. Okay, so that is covering the hypertension side of things. We're talking about fiber. We're also looking at low sodium, but I'm not going to hype too much on that right now because you guys know that. You guys know salt is not encouraged for many situations. So, especially if you have renal issues with hypertension or not, I'll just say you definitely want to be careful with salt. So, we'll kind of leave it at that. Now, the other side of things, we're looking at diabetes, the top cause of kidney issues. So there is some challenges when it comes to balancing this renal diabetic diet. I do have a whole other article on plantpoweredkidneys.com that talks about the renal diabetic diet. But to give you really quickly some information here, when we're looking at nutrition related to diabetes, the first thing you need to understand, carbohydrates are not the enemy. That is not the problem. Your body needs carbs. Even with diabetes, your body still needs carbs. Carbs are our main source of energy for our brain. The secondary source is ketones, which come from fat. But that is like getting, that's like getting just an alternative fuel. So you are using carbohydrates for that primo source of energy for your brain and for your body. So it's very important that you include carbs in your diet. Now, the issue comes up with not only the quality, but the quantity. So that's both. And this is something where when we look at something like a plant-based diet, that it is going to be really important that you get the right quality of carbohydrates in your diet. So carbohydrates are going to come from your fruits, from your vegetables, from your whole grains. And again, that still connects through the DASH diet. It connects through this idea of giving a lot of nutrients, a lot of nutritional bang for your buck. So focusing on the quality of your carbohydrates is going to be very, very important. We're not looking at a lot of these refined, simple carbs that are the white pastas, the white rice, and you guys are probably, some of you are thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm on a renal diet. I'm supposed to be having white rice or white pastas instead of whole grain. I'm telling you right now, that is old school information. It is outdated. It is misproven. The benefits of whole grains are there to show that whole grains are supportive of kidney health. And the reason is fiber and those other micronutrients that you get. So the process of going from a whole carb to a white carb is they're stripping the wheat. They're stripping it of those nutrients. And then when they make their bread products or the grains or whatever, they're enriching it, which is why a lot of the white products, the white breads and white pastas, and you'll see it as enriched. So you read the ingredient list and you see that it's been enriched with all of these vitamins that they just took out of the whole grain. So they stripped it down of fiber and they added in these micronutrients to supplement what they took out. Sticking with the whole grain is going to be a really, really great option. It is so rare that I'm advising people to switch over to a white pasta, a white grain. If it's something that's preferred, we talk about maybe half and half or sometimes doing one, sometimes doing the other. But if there is the white carbohydrate or the white grain, that's going to be a simple sugar. It gets digested faster. Therefore, we need to supplement it with more fiber from other places. So it could be from fruits or vegetables or nuts or seeds that have fiber in that to help with that slowing down of the carbohydrates. So with the diabetes, we're going to be looking at that quality of where the carbohydrates are coming from and the quantity. So now the quantity we're looking at is about half of your daily amount of calories should be coming from carbs. That's a generalized amount. Now, your ratios may be different, and this goes into more of the CKD side of things when we look at fat and protein. But in general, carbohydrates will be about half of your daily caloric needs. So let's say, for example, we'll try to do some easy math. I hate doing math, you guys, so bear with me. So we'll say 2,000 calorie diet. So you have a 2,000 calorie diet, and 1,000 calories, therefore about 1,000 calories will be coming from carbohydrates. Now, with the caloric conversion, a gram of carbohydrates is about 4 calories. So you would take that 1,000 calories and divide it by 4, which is 250. Whew, you guys. So you're, is it 250? Yes, it's 250. Oh, you guys, I'm sorry. Math is not my thing. So 250 grams of carbohydrates that are going to be throughout the day. Now, getting again into the quantity, that's going to be the daily amount. And the goal for the carbohydrates throughout the day is that you want it to be really smooth as possible. You will experience blood sugars going up. Everybody does. That is physiologically what happens when we digest carbohydrates. We take in those blood sugars, therefore our blood sugar level does go up. The challenge that comes into managing blood sugars is how long it takes for it to come back down, and really how much it spikes up as well, to show how much is going into the cell versus sitting around outside. That's where the insulin part comes in, which again, we have our food, we also have our medicine. So if you have medication to support these kinds of health issues, it is so important that you continue following your medication regimen that's been prescribed by your doctor. This is not the time to play around and try experimenting coming off of medication to see how you'll look, to see how you'll feel, to see what you can get away with. Now is not the time. If you're in CKD3, you need to be really taking care of those other health conditions that can be contributing towards CKD. So please talk with your doctor about your current medication regimen. And if you have any concerns about it, I really want you to address those concerns with the prescribing physician to make sure that you feel comfortable about that treatment plan, because food is not medicine. Medicine is medicine. Food is food. Okay. I know a lot of people do like to think of food as medicine, but they're two different categories and they both serve really important purposes in taking care of not only your kidney health, but your overall health. So I can't stress that enough. It is not a time to try to replace your medicine with food. So please take that for what you will. So, okay, getting back into the carbohydrates. Now, we want to keep these spikes, these upward trends when we're eating, as rounded out as possible and keep it as consistent as possible. The issues that come up are when it becomes this roller coaster of an effect of carbohydrates. And that is where we need to figure out what's going on with the timing of the meals, the frequency of the meals. And sometimes it is a matter of changing some of those times, those frequencies, the quantities, of spreading out that total carbohydrate need that you have for the day, spreading it out throughout the day. So again, just like I was talking about the food journaling, if you have issues with diabetes, blood sugar issues, please be checking your blood sugars. For my clients that have diabetes or blood sugar issues, I'm always talking with them about what their blood sugars look like, and they're sharing their blood sugar logs with them. We talk about getting continuous glucose monitors for at least a little bit of time to get a really good idea of what sugars are looking like. So again, if you're not seeing this pattern already outlining from what we've been talking about, it comes back to, with stage 3, this is the opportunity to focus on those pre-existing conditions. We're focusing on the things that may have been contributing towards the kidney damage that is now being shown in your lab results or in your medical history or according to your doctor. So focusing on that, essentially that root cause, that root problem, and that is how you're protecting your kidneys. And that's the secret, you guys. Like, that is, if that's like the one sentence that we can take away from this, the focus is what's causing the kidney malfunction, what's causing the kidney function to decline. And that's where you want to be looking at. So with carbohydrates, focusing on your quality and your quantity of carbohydrates and using your blood sugars to help give you a guide, to give you a path, an idea of what's going on. And I've got to tell you, from quite a few of even my recent clients who have blood sugar issues. When they're getting into this habit of tracking, they're really starting to pick up and notice certain foods and how those foods or how those changes in their diet can affect their blood sugar results. And looking at that trend of their average reading coming down is really, really helpful in understanding what's going on there and is very kidney protective. So thank you so much everyone for the comments. I'm going to try to keep up with them as much as possible. But yeah, this is really, really great. So yeah, the CGM is really great, Kathy. That is an excellent point. The continuous glucose monitor, the CGM, is really, really helpful to utilize in tracking your blood sugars. So thank you so much for sharing that. All right, so I'm going to continue on and talk about some more of these ideas when it comes to CKD3. And the reason I'm talking about stage 3 specifically today with you guys is this is an opportunity for you to really take advantage of what you're learning about your health and taking control over that. As CKD progresses, we oftentimes, and when I say we, I mean, myself as a renal dietitian, nephrologist I've spoken with, other dietitians I've spoken with, we see this transition from correction to maintenance as the CKD progresses. So with CKD3, 3A or 3B, this is your opportunity for correction. This is that earlier stage where there are great ways for you to focus on how to improve your kidney function. I'm not saying that later will not be improved whatsoever, but there is more likely the time that we're looking at maintaining, just preserving kidney function, and making sure that we're feeling really good. So CKD 3A, 3B, this is the time that you have. And if you are watching and if you have a lower, I don't know how much you care to share, but if you want to help motivate others that are watching that maybe they are in 3A, 3B, if you're in 4 or 5 or even dialysis, feel free to drop a comment to support those people and tell them, you've got it. And I love it that so many of you are very, very supportive and encouraging of others to be so mindful of their health. So please be sure to share that with us here so that we can be supportive of each other. Okay, so some other factors for nutrition. Now, I'm going to talk about potassium for a little bit. And potassium is one of those really fickle things that the old school renal diet and even some of the new stuff, and when I say new, I mean just things that are kind of still coming out, are advocating for a low potassium diet. Now, this is not the case necessarily for CKD3. So with earlier stages of CKD, there's no evidence to say that a potassium restriction is across the board necessary. So when I say across the board, I mean, this is something that we can't say everybody blanket statement should follow a low potassium diet. It's still going to be individualized, and all of this will still be individualized. But with those earlier stages, the risk people run with reducing potassium right away. So if you learn you have CKD and right away you start to cut out potassium, you are harming your opportunity to control your blood pressure. The older thought with blood pressure control was that the low sodium diet is helpful. The newer research proven observations is that a low sodium, more potassium, higher potassium diet is more protective for blood pressure because potassium is involved in so many things in the body. So when you learn about CKD, and if you are right off the bat, again, if you're self-diagnosing, if you're even prescribing a diet to yourself, which is like a dietary prescription, if you're pulling back on something like potassium, you could be doing yourself more harm than good. So that's what I really want to encourage you to be I really want you to encourage to be thinking about and talking with your healthcare team about, talking with your doctor about, do I need to follow a potassium restriction? And if so, why? If you've ever heard anything I talk about in previous videos, why is my favorite question. That's the kind of question that you just can't get enough of. And I want you to keep asking why until you really understand what is going on. Because if you are following something, even from a practitioner, if you're following something in a blind assumption that they know what's going on, don't don't. And I encourage even my clients, ask me why. We need to talk about it. I want you to understand what's going on so that you can feel really confident in the dietary plan that we have for you. So that's going to be the same case for your medical plan, any kind of medical treatment plan that you have. You want to really understand what's going on, why you're doing what you're doing, what the outcome is supposed to be, what the timeline is supposed to be. How long should you be doing X, Y, and Z before you're going to reevaluate and make changes to it? So that is something that I really, really encourage. And with potassium, again, so many people start right off the bat thinking they need to restrict potassium. I can't tell you guys. And I'm sure, a lot of you are in our Facebook group, Plant Powered Kidneys, that see people say, like, I can't eat this because of low potassium. Low potassium. We're not here to tell somebody what they can and can't do because we don't know. But we do want to challenge and just say, is that what you've been told, or is that what you think you need to do? There's a really, really big difference. So this is one of those first things for CKD3 that I like to I really like to harp on. And that's why in the Plant Powered Kidneys course, that's why it's week 1 content. That's why it's the very first thing we talk about, because I really want to just knock that down and help you understand more about potassium and more about why it's important, why it's so valuable, and what the old and new information is showing. That is going to be really, really important for you to understand. So, that's great. Okay, I'm gonna share yours, Carolyn. So obviously I'm getting more comfortable with using some of this technology. So Carolyn is just sharing how she improved her GFR, brought it up from 48 to 58 in 1 month with a plant-based diet, and dropped her creatinine down to 0.94. That's really, really great. The thing about plant-based diets, you guys, is it doesn't have to be 100% vegan. A lot of people automatically go there, and that's automatically what they think of is eating only plants and all for the rest of my life. It is very, very different. I have a client that I'm working with right now, not entirely plant-based, because that is not realistic for them. That is not something that they feel comfortable doing. It might be down the road. I don't know. But we're focusing on where they're at right now to take care of what they really feel confident and comfortable in. And there's so many opportunities that we can focus on just in shifting and adding some more plants. It, again, doesn't have to be 100%, but it can be something, and making that change towards including fruits, vegetables, whole grains to incorporate more of those nutrients into the diet. And it's not just about any certain nutrient that you're including when you're having these things. It's a variety of them. Variety is so important when it comes to having this kidney-friendly diet, because these different foods, these different colors of foods, these different types of foods will bring in different nutrients that will be supportive of your kidneys and of your body. All right, I've got a few more minutes, and there is so much, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to get through as much as I even had intended on for this live today, but I was really, really excited to be able to bring this up to you guys. So I'm gonna see if I can grab any other questions or comments here really quick, just to yeah, okay, this is a really great one. So Deborah says, I found that a lot of plant-based foods are high in sodium. This goes into the idea of thinking about plant-based and thinking about finding these plant-based substitutes that will take over the chicken, the beef, the whatever it is, because you're finding something that is in the freezer section, is in the deli section still. These kinds of alternatives can be high in sodium. Yeah, you are absolutely right, Deborah. It is very, very tough, I will say, but it's very insightful. And there was something I was looking at with some of our students in the PPK course community a few weeks ago. They were posting pictures about things they were finding in their pantry, some different swaps, and somebody found an egg substitute, which was very high in sodium. And this goes back to this idea of it's not just something to go to a vegan diet thinking that anything that's labeled vegan will be good for you. It's a little bit, I wanted to say it's a little bit harder than that, but honestly, it's a little bit easier in that if you focus on more things that don't have labels on them. So if we're thinking about that, that means, again, fruits and vegetables. So starting with fruits and vegetables, starting with seeing how many servings you get per day and looking at how you can increase your servings of fruits and vegetables. So let's say you're on a potassium restriction. Let's say that is something that you do need, that you have been medically ordered to follow a potassium restriction. There are so many low potassium fruits and vegetables that you can include and still follow a potassium restriction. So one of the articles I have on plantpoweredkidneys.com is details about a low potassium diet. And I do have lists of fruits and vegetables in there that you can check out. But think of it this way. And I use this analogy for a lot of things with clients, but to make $1, you could do 4 quarters or you could do 100 pennies, right? Either way, it still adds up to $1, but you get to that dollar a lot faster with the 4 quarters than the pennies, right? So think of your servings of your fruits and vegetables in that pennies idea. So looking at the lower potassium options, but that you still get a variety. You get more variety and options in following more of those lower potassium options rather than focusing on those higher quarter potassium foods in that kind of example. So including more fruits and vegetables, even if you aren't switching from animal meats to those substitutes, which yes, can be very high in sodium, that might not be a good swap for you. But instead focusing on putting more things that are good for you into your diet can be so, so helpful. And this really was one of my number one goals as I started working in this preventive side of CKD is teaching people about eating more fruits and vegetables, because the old school renal diet is all about limiting them and cutting down. And this is stuff that I even saw from my own handouts that I had to give in dialysis, talking with people about eating less fruits and vegetables, which broke my heart, absolutely broke my heart. And I knew it's not the case. I knew the research wasn't showing that. So that's my encouragement to you, is to be focusing on those pennies. Think about the pennies to the dollar. And hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you guys have any questions about that or anything. All right, let me check. Oh yes, let me do this one. All right, Madiha, I hope I'm saying that right. Frozen vegetables, are they good because they're easy to cook? They are so easy to cook. I mean, how simple is it to get a bag of the steam bags, which for me basically is mostly Monday through Fridays, a steam bag of vegetables. Those are a great option. A few things I do want to warn you about, because there are so many options that are out there now anyway. For one, make sure that it's not in some kind of sauce or season or flavoring that can really crank up not only the sodium, but potentially the potassium, and it might have phosphorus additives because of that sauce. You don't know for sure. And you may find some that are okay in that condition or in that situation, but the regular frozen broccoli mixture, I mean, you guys, there's so many options. But the great thing about frozen is that they pick them at their ripe peakness and they freeze them quickly to preserve the nutrition. And then when you steam them, the steaming doesn't release as many of those nutrients as like boiling would. Boiling, that's why when you boil broccoli, you see the water turns green. It's pulling a lot of nutrients out there. So steaming will help keep the nutrients in that you do want to include in your diet. I mean, that's one of the great things about eating a variety of vegetables are those nutrients that you're getting. So yes, frozen vegetables are a fantastic fantastic go-to resource that I think if you can't get fresh, frozen is personally my next favorite option. And you can even roast frozen veggies right from frozen. Put them on a sheet pan, throw them in the oven, and roast them until they're nice and golden. And it's absolutely great. Roasted vegetables are another favorite of mine. Okay. Let's see. Oh, the website. So Kathy's asking about the website. So it's my website. It is plantpoweredkidneys.com. Let me see if I can put that up here for you guys. There we go, plantpoweredkidneys.com. I've got to get some more of these resources here taken care of for you guys earlier ahead of time. So plantpoweredkidneys.com. If you go under the resources, I will have a link there. I'll have blog. So if you click on blog, you will see the article that I cover and I kind of started getting into today, which is the stage 3 CKD ultimate guide. Again, it's like a novel. I'm not even kidding. It is a lot of information. So take your time going through it. You can post questions at the very bottom of the blog. If you have questions, just keep in mind, I can't answer anything personal, medically related. I can't give individual advice. So that's the only thing there to kind of warn you about. But there are a lot of resources that I have on there, a lot of articles. Every week we have a new article published. And hopefully you see that I am making an effort to get out here, get on social media more frequently for you guys and talk about this information that I'm putting out. One caveat, as I'm getting used to coming out and doing this more frequently, I won't be doing this live next week because my family is coming in town. I haven't seen my family for 2 years. We do Zoom and all that, but I haven't been able to see them for a really long time, not only because of COVID, but because we're geographically very, very far apart. So I think that I'm going to have a really, really good time with them. And I'm going to be in the moment and appreciating that I get to see my nieces who, honestly, I'm surprised they remember who I am. They're young and they're growing so fast, but that is what I have for you guys today. I really want to thank you so much, all of you, for jumping on live, whether you were able to watch the whole thing or kind of jump in and out. Really, really happy for you all to jump on and for you to ask questions. Thank you so much. Just so you know, if you post questions in the replay, I will do my best to get to them. I don't always get notified about them, but if you post your questions in the blog at the very bottom at plantpoweredkidneys.com, then I will get those notifications. That I can for sure let you know about responding to. So thank you so much, everybody. And I really appreciate the support. I love your questions. And if you have any more, again, go to plantpoweredkidneys.com, check out the articles there. I can also kind of connect you with some other resources there as well. But I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. In case you want to hear me talk more about this same topic, I will be going through more of it with James tonight on Dadvice TV. So be sure to jump on if you're able to. It will be at 6 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be talking about this again. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day, your evening, your week, your morning, wherever you're checking in from. And I will catch you all. I'll be doing this again here Tuesdays, 10 a.m. That's my goal, is to do this routinely. So in 2 weeks, I'll be jumping back on. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.